Insurance?
Amazon.
Do we have BFI here?
What the heck David want? Terrence.
What does a pending quote mean? Pending.
Hey, what's her name? I need a hard copy.
I'd like to call to order this October 9th Finance Committee meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. At this time, if Mr. Ken Dawson will please lead us in the prayer, followed by the pledge, if you'll all stand and remain standing.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for all the grace you continue to bestow upon us, all the blessing that you give us. And we do not take it lightly, your protection. You providing us protection through this past hurricane season. We ask that you continue to do so, but we also ask that you watch over those that are going through it in the Florida area, near the Panhandle, those areas, oh God, that could be struck by Category 3. We ask that you bless them and protect them, that you look upon all those issues that's been happening around our country, the death of several people in a car accident, protect our military and the people that protect us, our police. And we ask that you give us wisdom to do your people's business. But God, you said that if anyone desire wisdom, let them ask of you, and that you would give it to them freely and willingly. We thank you for all the things you continue to do, and you continue to help us do the people's business well in Ascension Parish. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Everyone is here tonight, Madam Secretary, with the exception of Councilman Turner. There are no chairs additions, and if you would like to comment on any item on the agenda, please see the Secretary, fill out a card, and we'll pass those over. We're going to have some guests this evening who are here to talk to you about issues around their various authorities where they need to make some presentations. So I'd like to welcome to the House tonight our District Attorney, Mr. Ricky Babbitt, and his humble assistant, Mr. Larry Buqua, and they are number 5 on the agenda. So if you gentlemen would like to come on up, we're happy to hear from you, and we're happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. You know, when I appear before you, it's usually with my hand handed out and begging. So here we are again. It's been many years before we come before you. We're asking for an increase. This is just an ordinary budget increase. We're not doing anything different. We're not building anything. We're not buying anything. This is just basically cover our increased cost and our declining revenue. 2 reasons for that. Our increased cost is primarily health care. You guys run the parish, and you have a much bigger load than we do. So you know what I'm saying when I said health care costs. Is employees is basically our biggest expense. Other than that, we use paper, pens. It's employees. That is our biggest expense. Second reason is decline in revenues. As you know, we cannot sustain ourselves strictly on what we raise through fines, fees, forfeitures, etc. As the law is moving into the direction of you can't put people in jail for not paying their fines, a lot of fines are not getting paid, they're being written off, and those losses of income are also affecting us. We've given you some information. I think we've emailed it to you, some comparisons with other parishes, what they specifically fund that district attorney's office. And this is not our total funding for sure. Our total budget's about 4.7. And what we have you here is, you know, about a fifth, a little less than a fifth of that. A little more than a fifth.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Kluwat, a second by Councilman Todd Lambert, to approve the request by the district attorney for an increase of funding. Any questions?
Yes.
Mr. Kluwat.
Ricky, first of all, I want to thank you guys for the job y'all do. And I think I'd like for you to just give us a quick moment on, for the public will know, the increase in load that you have based on an entity that we do know, which is East Baton Rouge Parish, and how you carry 50% of the load of East Baton Rouge Parish, and that within the 23rd JDC, we have St. James and Assumption, and we know the economies in those, and we know the contributing factors, and I just want to make it clear that what we're doing tonight is based on Ascension work.
Yes, sir. The East Baton Rouge Parish is about twice as big as we are as far as volume of cases. East Baton Rouge, they handle about 40-something hundred felonies. We handle about 2,500. They handle in the neighborhood of 4,500 to 4,700 felonies. We handle about half that number. Their budget's over $12 million. I think they're given $12 million simply from their parish government. So we're about half their size, and we're funded to about a third of what they are. Our caseload is, like I said, it ranges from anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 felonies a year. We handle about 20,000 misdemeanors. We handle traffic. We handle juveniles. Just Ascension Parish alone's got about 500 juvenile cases per year. Now with the increases in probation and parole burdens since the early release stuff came about, we're having to attend a lot of parole and parole hearings. There's just tasks that we've never had to do before in my 20-something years of being an assistant district attorney and district attorney that we have here. So you are correct, Mr. Cluett. Thank you for pointing it out. We're about half their size, and we're doing it with about a third the resources. And I hate being here asking you, and I know you guys don't, contrary to popular belief, money doesn't grow on trees for you, but I mean, I don't have a tax. This is our primary funding source, so I had to come to you, but thank you.
Well, I just want to say that we support law enforcement, and we also support the judicial system and the work that you guys got to do. Thank you very much. And we
Thank you, sir.
appreciate your work to continue with juveniles and everything. And I know past laws that have changed, that have put a lot of workload on you guys, and we hope that that works out better for mankind.
Mr. Dawson?
Not for you, Ricky, but I wanted to ask Dawn maybe, what do we have in the current budget, and what does that number have to go to? I'm looking at what was given to us, and I can't quite make those match up.
Microphone.
So, okay, so there's no change to what's proposed to the, okay, thank you.
Is that good for us or bad?
That's good for me, I like
Okay,
that.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Satterley?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Babin, for coming this evening.
sir.
I too share the council's support that what you guys as a vital function do as a vital function of the parish and so forth. I'm just curious, and again, it may not be for you. I'm not quite even sure I understood what the answer to Bill's question was. So, in either a percent and or actually probably both dollar amount, what is the amount of increased funding that is being?
$367,000.
$367,000?
Yes, sir.
And that's above what you would have received,
Yes, sir.
for, as an example, last year?
Yes, sir.
How much?
From
Above.
800 to about 1.1.
So it's about a 40 to 45% increase.
Yes, sir.
So you have an increased health cost and you have the decreased revenues. My understanding is a lot of that has to do, is this true, is just not a whole lot more money coming in from DWIs because of Uber and Lyft?
It sounds strange, but I've had that discussion with the members of the Supreme Court at the Supreme Court building, and it is and that's good public policy. I'm not saying that's bad. I don't want to be misquoted. That is a good thing that we have less DWIs in the parish.
Absolutely.
But it is a revenue issue. Also, we have fines, fees have been reduced, and everything just costs more. I've given you a breakdown of what our employees make in comparison to like what your similarly
Right.
situated employees make.
Right.
And they're a good bit below. But I have, just to keep those employees, they already increased costs.
So regardless of the etiology, the increase of 367,000 is in line with the decreased revenues and increased health costs by a
Yes, sir.
similar amount? Or-
We have been eating our reserves, trying to avoid this, thinking things would improve, but
Y'all have monies in reserve right now?
we have about $750,000.
Okay. Okay. So, again, the two issues, the health cost and the increase in revenues, it's equal to 367, or it's more than that, and that's why you're eating into your reserves, or?
Those two numbers, as it is now, with our insurance costs that we had before, we were eating into our reserves about $200,000 a year. And
How long has that been going on, Ricky?
fluctuating last 4 or 5 years.
So in a matter of years, the reserves will be gone at this rate.
Yes, sir.
And
That's why we're trying to.
And if
that's why
Uber
we're
and
trying-
Lyft gets even more vigorous, it'll be even worse.
Well, I'm
A
really
little birdie
trying to-
told me that story is why I brought it up, but.
I'm really trying to avoid, like I said, it's a good thing. I mean, it's a shame that we have to fund ourselves on, you know, from somebody's misfortune doing
Right.
that. But I mean, I didn't make those rules. That's just the way they are. A lot of the funding for the entire judicial, district attorneys, even some sheriff, comes from fines, fees, court costs, things of that sort.
And for the record, even with this healthy increase, the amount you're requesting, I'm looking at our packet materials, the public can't see that at home, but I want them to know it. It's commensurate with other parishes. You have listed multiple parishes by comparison as to what they're receiving, what they're paying, I should say, for the work. And it's standardized by, or at least you can in your mind standardize by population served and so forth.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have, Madam Chairman.
And along
Thank
that
you.
same lines, the increase looks staggering, but we don't come every year. I guess it would be simpler, and I guess that's one thing I maybe should talk with Madam Chairman, or if we have, instead of waiting so long, it's just that I just hate coming and ask for money. So, but I guess if we did it annually instead of at least reviewed it annually, it would be less of a bite when we do have to come here.
Well, I, for one, would appreciate that. Thank you for that, Ricky, and also for all your candid answers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further questions, gentlemen? Any objections?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate you being here. Larry, great to see you as well. Thank you for the work that you do. All right, item number 6 is an update on the Santa Ma Main Fire Station number 60. Chief James LeBlanc is here. James, we thank you for coming and helping us to better understand the dilemma that you're facing now with some of your stations, particularly the.
Thank you. So before I get started, I just wanted to thank again the administration and the procurement purchasing department that they've been helping us all week understand our numbers. That's in the Fire District number 1 budget. And I do want to thank the Homeland Security OEP office for helping us over the last 2 years make sure that we got our ducks in a row and that we moving forward to try to get these fire stations rebuilt. This is no secret to anybody. You know, we lost 5 fire stations in the 2016 flood. We're doing everything we can to try to get these fire stations rebuilt. You, as a council, have already approved the new fire station in Geismar that was built in 1973. You also approved the new fire station that's being built in Sorrento. The reason why the Santa Ma Fire Station wasn't on the last go-around whenever we went for the Geismar and Sorrento station is because we were still working with FEMA. And as you know, I know many people have stood up here over the last 2 years and gave you updates. As long as you're working with FEMA, you can't go out for bids. You can't do anything. You have to keep following their rules and regulations. Well, we're past that point now as far as working with them. We're ready to move on to take care of the main station in Santa Ma. And I think tonight is the first meeting where we have to get it approved through finance before we go to council. And we're ready to move.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Kluwat.
Yes, thank you, Chief. And based on everything on the review of your balance fund and everything y'all got in, tonight I'd like to offer up a motion to authorize District 1 Fire Department to go forward with design and an authorization for budget for Santa Ma Fire Department,
Have a
station
motion.
number 60.
And I thank you, gentlemen, for getting together and working some of these details out so
Right.
that you would have a really good path forward. Thank you on my behalf to the administration, to OEP, James, to you, to Randy. Appreciate you very much for working on all of this. So I have a motion by Councilman Kluwat, a second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, request for approval of a proposed insurance renewal for 2019. Christie, and I see Mr. Harry. Welcome to you all. We appreciate having you here every year.
Well, thank you, appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to come out and speak with y'all. And I apologize for handing y'all the handouts, so late, but actually, we have our last proposal, I think this morning at 7 o'clock, so it was hard for us to get out a little bit earlier than that. And my presentation is just, as usual, a table of contents is going to be the letter that we sent out to all the companies who actually gave us some type of a quote in one of the coverages that we asked for, some of the plans that we considered, and then the history of the rates, and then the increases throughout the years. That's just interesting just to follow that, so I include that in our presentation just about every year. And then lastly, just the comments that we might offer just in consideration about the company we're going to ultimately choose to insure us, and the plans and the benefits that we choose to go along with it. This year, the group of companies that we requested quotes from kind of shrunk from previous years. Previous years, we've been had 13, 14 companies that probably expressed an interest. This year, there was actually about 8 or 9 of them, and out of those, we got 2 definite quotes and 1 quote pending. The rest of them, after they got the information, just declined to give us a quote. Last year, when we were insured with Humana. This present year, we switched from Humana to United Health because they had a significant rate decrease compared to what Humana's increase was. We saved something like a total of close to a little bit under $500,000. This year, fortunate and unfortunate, depends on the way you look at it, Humana came back and I guess probably met the challenge with United Health and ultimately gave us, the same programs that we had with them before, but at a rate that was cheaper than what United Health quoted us to renew their policy. Okay, and with doing as we always do, meeting with the insurance committee, which is representative of, I guess, probably just about every department, it was virtually unanimous for the people desiring to go back with Humana. Now, this may have been a little bit difficult to understand because really, United Health, considering that we changed close to 600 lives for 4 or 5 different types of insurance, we had minimum amount of problems other than normal maintenance and management type problems. So, overall, United Health did do a fairly good job with the plan once they accepted it. However, when their rates came in because of the desire, because of the committee desiring to change back to Humana, and Humana ultimately coming in with a rate that probably represented maybe a little under $100,000 cheaper than what United Health was, that probably the obvious recommendation would be to go ahead and switch back to Humana. So just to follow you, for y'all to follow what the rates are, if you look at page 3, you see in green United Healthcare, and then to the right you see Humana. The yellow part of United Healthcare is the current plan. And of course, the current plan shows in all sections that they're the same across the board. Same deductible for individual, deductible for family, 100% co-insurance after the deductible is met, inside the network, and 70% after. So the plans are what you call match plans. So there wouldn't be any variance in comparing benefit to benefits. The benefits are alike. And if you follow a little bit further on where you see the premium, okay, underneath the yellow for the current plan for United Health, you see where the premium for an individual was $747. The renew was $794, and then Humana came in with $782. Okay, and if you follow down the line in each category, employee only, employee and spouse, employee and children, employee and family, you'll see that in each category, Humana came in with a nominal amount lower than what United Healthcare was, but the end result is showing a savings of a little under $100,000, I guess $80-something thousand. That represents a increase as far as the employee is concerned. because the net dollar increase represented about 4.63% increase, which is way under the trend. The trend in medical, pharmaceutical, everything is trending around 9 or 10%. In our budget analysis, we kind of anticipated maybe, because we had a fairly, successful year because of the losses, but we kind of anticipated just because of the trend, somewhere around 9 to 12, 15% increase. So whenever we ultimately got the ultimate prices down to where they are now, it was, everybody was pretty much satisfied to where we ended up, okay? So, the only difference that we have, the dental insurance is going to be the exact same premium, the exact same benefits that we had last year. And Humana will, of course, handle the dental for us also. There's a little disparity this time because Humana does not any longer carry life insurance for groups over 100, okay? So we're not able to move 100% of everything to Humana, okay? So we're still out trying to get some type of quotes, which is a really insignificant part of the whole premium for the life insurance. But we feel just because we know the market that probably we'll be able to come up with something that either one of the companies that's representing us in medical can probably meet those prices with life insurance. So we're not looking at any push or pull in the premium on the life and disability insurance on that. We were overall, as the committee expressed themselves, and I guess probably everybody from our office expressed themselves, we were pretty happy with the results of the recommendation that we probably gonna offer y'all tonight. And if Christy wants to add anything or say anything, I'd welcome her to go ahead and express herself.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. One of the major forces of going back to Humana for everybody is their wellness program. We were so impressed and so on board with their wellness program. And, we got a 6% decrease off of the renewal the previous year before we switched to United Healthcare. We feel confident that we could do the 6%, possibly an 8%. So if we can participate in the wellness program and change that, decrease that renewal rate, we want to be able to do that. Also, we're going to need approval to continue to put $125 into the employees' health savings accounts. We'll need to get that approved along with switching to Humana for health, dental, and vision. That's kind of all I have right now. The participation for the current wellness program with United Healthcare, if you base the participation, which is the only way I could base it off of, was participating in the health fair and the biometric screenings, we were around 85%. So our participation was still really high. It was just a little bit more disorganized than, the Go 365 plan with Humana. Anybody have any questions for me?
Mr. Satterley?
Yeah, and again, for the record, the people at home that don't have this information in front of us, and I want to be sure I understand it as well. In our current plan, which is with United, and looking at the United quote, which doesn't sound like that's where we headed, but for illustrative purposes, and then we'll look at Humana. If I understand this correct, with their 6.25% increase over what their premium was last year, annually of $5.089 million,
Right.
they're looking for $5.408 million, right?
Right.
So that represents, in terms of who and how much we have to absorb, the parish annual contribution on that would be an extra, overall, the increase both for employees and parish match is $318,091.
Right.
Of which the parish would have to pay $238,569.
Correct.
That's thousands of dollars, and the employees would bear an extra burden of around $79,523, almost 80 grand.
Correct.
But if we go with Humana, the public understands that we instead of coming up another $318,000 for what United's quoted, because they're coming in at 4.63% above last year's annual, as opposed to 6.25% for United, Humana's increased cost to us will be $236,044,
Correct.
of which the parish would be responsible for $177,034, and the folks we're insuring, our employees, $59,000.
Absolutely.
Did I get it?
That's it.
Okay,
Nailed it.
just for the record, madam.
You nailed it.
Happy to have you
Great.
recorded. Thank you, sir.
I know there's a lot of numbers, but if someone's watching out there, I mean, in these tables and everything,
And again, I apologize for not being able to get them to y'all sooner, but y'all got the last quote this morning at 7 o'clock, so when it's.
Yeah, and Harry, and thank you so much for that work again. One other question too, that other quote is, we'll go ahead and disclose, is Blue Cross.
Blue
I have.
Cross, they had completed, and they said it'll be another 2 weeks. before
Okay,
we
so it's
get
not
there.
them, because in the other table you had pending, so.
Right, yeah.
But I don't have a lot of empathy for people that wait to the last minute
Well-
anyway. But just for yucks, I'm sure you looked at it a little bit. Is it competitive in any way, or?
No, they never have been competitive, I guess probably in the last 10 or 12 years. And the reason why that, they take so long is because they actually like to have some of the losses for the previous year.
Right,
And then so before they get the third quarter losses, it'll be accumulated probably sometimes in middle October, something of that nature, because it ends in September.
right,
End of September, so.
right.
That's why it's hard to push some of these companies, because the more you push them, sometimes the higher they go.
And isn't
So
it?
you've got to
no.
give them time to kind of adjust the rates like they think their market should be.
It isn't a true. I remember attending a meeting, maybe not last year, but the year before, and I think Councilman Joseph was with me out at Lamar Dixon.
Right.
Our employees were real happy with Humana, and the only reason we switched was because of the competitive price again.
Exactly.
And
It
now
was
we're going
hard.
back there again.
It was close to about a $500,000 premium, and it was hard to just overlook that.
So
because
maybe we got their attention.
We got their attention,
Appreciate you. That's your job.
Well, that's one of the reasons why, that I'm hesitant to switch, because in the letter where we request, we tell them that we don't switch. We owe a certain amount of loyalty to the companies that insure us, and we won't switch unless we have some unsubstantiated, substantial
Correct.
increase in premium, or if we're not satisfied in the service of it. So that's.
And on top of all that, didn't I hear, sir, that your insurance board recommends going back to Humana as well? Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Madam Chair?
You're
motion.
welcome. Excuse me one second. I think there were some other questions. Bill?
I can do it after the
Okay,
motion.
let's
Okay.
go ahead and get that out of the way then.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Kluwat. Now, Mr. Dawson.
Okay. Thank you. Just maybe a couple of comments, and then I had some questions about the process. One, 4.6% increase, that's good
Right.
work.
Right.
A lot of us that are in business that, wish that we could keep our healthcare costs to that.
Absolutely.
And then I also applaud the health savings account, if that's a feature that these others don't offer, that we can offer, I think is a plus for the employees and myself. I've heard the comments about missing the wellness part of that, and I think that's always a good thing for us in the parish to have people, preemptively doing something about the healthcare cost. Now, having said that, I want to talk a little bit about the process, Harry, and if you could just,
Sure.
excuse my ignorance
No,
here,
no
but,
problem at all. I'm happy to explain.
we don't use the purchasing, we don't use parish purchasing for this to go out for these bids. We pay you,
Right.
can you tell me how that works a little bit?
Well, it just depends on which facet of insurance that we're talking about, okay? Property and casualty insurance, we do the same thing. We go out and we get probably competitive bids, and we choose to go with the company that we think probably can give us the service that we need, okay? Now, on that, I charge a particular fee because we don't get any commission at all on that particular line of business. And then naturally, the work that we do for it is that we, issue all the checks for all the workman's comp claims, all the GL claims, everything of that nature. And we actually involved in handling, and settling the majority of all those claims. On the health insurance portion of it, we go out and we solicit bids from every company, and we negotiate with the companies to try to get the best deal for the parish. And then in that, we receive a commission on that particular side of it.
Do you receive a commission from the winning company, or
Right.
how does that go, or is the parish?
We
Does the
receive a-
parish pay the commission, or like, in this case, you would get a commission from Humana?
Humana, right, exactly. And our
And are
life-
these, would that vary depending on who got the bid?
Yeah, they're not all the same. The commission varies between 2% and 10%, Typically, Humana and Blue Cross and United Health is somewhere between 2 and 3%. They're on the lower side of the spectrum just about the majority of the time.
And that then, and that percentage is built into these rates?
Right.
Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the rates are registered with the Department of Insurance. They can't vary from it, you know. You know, I've, in some of the cases before, to try to get a better deal, I requested, I think we did this last year in front of one of the companies. We asked them if they would consider lowering their commission, and they wouldn't do it. They can't do it, you see.
Okay. I guess the other question is that we had 2 out of 9 respondents on
Right.
on the bids. Now,
So far, we got Blue Cross, which is pending, so. I don't know.
well, I mean, if we're going to nominate somebody, it doesn't matter. What are we?
Well, the only
Well,
rea-
say it's 2.5. I don't know what the number is, but it's fairly low.
Yeah,
So I guess in my experience with that is that, you know, if you had a response like this in the private sector, you would first look and see, is there a problem with how I went out for these bids? Did I put something there that was too parochial, or something that didn't allow, you know, these people to bid? So how do you, I guess the question is,
I
you
can
know, if
answer
you
that.
only have, you know, 2 out of 9 respond,
Right.
then, you know, do you go back and look at your request for quotes, or do you go back and look at the bid specification, I don't know, you know, the letter, or do you try to research the reason that we had these 6 or so people decline?
Well, what we do when we request quotes, we have them suggest any plans or anything that they might have that they think probably we'd be interested in. So we open it up completely to where we'll consider anything and any price that they give us, so we can make sure that we
So
have.
what's your opinion about why you had so many people decline?
There's just not that many companies that write groups that size in Louisiana, in this part of the country. There's just, you know, very few of them. The 3 of them that we have quotes on are they probably write 95% of all the business that's written, other than Aetna, you know, which probably, if you consider them, they write probably 95% of all the business written in this area. It's just, and it's unfortunate. It's something, I guess, probably similar to Rick was talking about, the automobile insurance. We have the highest rates in the nation because of certain circumstances, which some of us don't have any control over, I guess, you know. We just become victims in some way.
So was there a letter of interest that went out ahead of time, and
yeah.
these 9 people said they were interested, but then
Right, look,
only
that's-
2 of them said they wanted
Look
to
at,
quote? Is that
if you look
correct?
at, we look at the
Page
letter, first letter,
I know,
the number
I'm trying
1.
to get that.
Want me to read it?
No, that's all right. What I'm saying is that, I don't want to spend too much more time on this.
that's
I'm
fine.
just saying that it was I saw the letter, but I'm wondering why somebody would say I'm interested, and then
Well-
7 out of 9 of them say, you know, I don't want to quote on this.
Well, it's just like Humana. They decide that they're not going to quote or entertain any life insurance over 100. It's just something that they probably doesn't fit into what they're trying to do. Some areas which they had a bad experience with, so they try to get out of it. So I guess it's just like running a typical business. Some things work for your plan, and some of them don't. You know, and then when you talk about insuring almost 600 lives, you know, which is what we're doing with the parish, you know, that's a sizable type of group. And then you have some companies that's just not designed to be able to do that, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we wish we could. That's one of the reasons why, you know, I hate to switch too often, because if we happen to lose 1 of the 3, you know, that's probably making the other one competitive, and then we become a little bit more vulnerable. So, I mean, sometimes there's other things you have to consider besides just the price.
Mr. Satterley?
Yeah, as a follow-up, because that was educational, and I thank both Councilman Dawson and yourself
Yeah.
educating this ignorant beast. I'm always awaiting my education. I recall in my first term, years and years ago, that we were actually considered by a lot of these companies as poor risk.
Right.
And that was long before, I guess, our wellness programs and so
Right.
forth, so I'm sure we're better. But wouldn't that also factor into this, as far as
Absolutely.
they look at us and say, well, you
Absolutely.
paid this amount of money off and so forth, so...
Well, it's all claim sensitive.
I mean, we'll still bid, but we'll bid higher, or
We'll
we
bid
won't bid
higher.
at all, or
Yeah.
that'd be a factor. And then the other thing I learned here, so that
Mm-hmm.
the public understands this as well, I think I do now, if your commission is 2 to 10%, and you said it's paid by the vendor, in
Right.
this case, if we select tonight Humana, and they are cheaper by the
By the-
several hundreds of thousands we talked about,
Right.
I don't know what the commission's gonna be, but if you were to come up here in front of us and recommend that we go with the higher company, you would make more money.
Right.
So you're sort of, in that regard, slitting your throat from the
Well-
standpoint of recommending the cheaper company.
In this particular instance.
And I think, actually morally, I think you're almost obligated though, because it's
Exactly.
apples to apples and oranges. All the comparisons that you give, which we haven't went over here in public,
Right.
is though, that's in those charts
Right.
are similar and so forth. It's not like we're paying less and getting less. We're
Exactly.
paying less and getting the same.
Same, right,
Is that not the
right.
case?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Lawler?
Real quick question. As far as the life insurance goes, do we know approximately how much that'll run us?
Yep, I mean, it's gonna run probably the same thing it ran us last year, and it's in the, I think, the second, let's see. Okay. For a employee, it's 33 cents per thousand. For the accidental death and dismemberment, it's 3 cents. And for a dependent life, it's, 84 cents with the family on it. And those benefits are, employee is $35,000. That's the life. It was, I think, 25, and we raised it about 2 or 3 years ago to 35,000 with the same rate. So we just were able to increase the benefit, at the same premium.
I was looking at the comments section though, and it says Humana no longer offers life insurance though.
Yeah, they just decided it didn't fit into what they do. So any group over 100, they don't offer life insurance.
So if we go through Humana though, we're gonna have to,
Yeah, we got.
are we gonna go through UHC to get it? United
No,
Health?
they don't want to do life alone, so we have to get it from another company, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think that probably it's just kind of a form of insurance that's more desirable than the medical portion of it. It's not as volatile. So, I mean, we can get more quotes on it, so we feel confident we'll be able to get something to match what Humana would have given us, to match what United Health has for us now.
I guess my concern, do you think it'll eat up that 82,000 in savings?
No.
Perfect.
No. I don't think it'll eat up anything. I think probably that savings will remain your savings, because we're gonna pay the same thing that we were paying before,
Okay,
with
great.
the life insurance.
And I'm looking at the last comment, changing from United Health may leave us vulnerable to a following year, quote.
Well, I mean, if United Health takes the position, well, we think we did y'all a good job. The increase was minimal in their world, So if that's the way we're gonna be treated, we might not wanna go back and offer you, quote, next year. Which would leave us a little bit more vulnerable if we don't have somebody other than Blue Cross to quote against Humana. And so that's some of the things that's a consideration which I consider, just about all the time, sometimes.
I guess I just go back to what Bill was saying about getting more people to add some quotes to this next year, hopefully.
Well, I mean, we've been trying this, like I was saying, every year. I mean, the more we have that can quote, the better off we are. It's just that you don't have that many people that want to do business of this nature, like that. And in a municipality, one of the things that probably, historically, one of the things that drives your costs is just your age. Because of the type hiring and everything we do, our age limit is above your normal business climate. Well, the older you are, the more it costs to maintain you, so your rates are going to go up. I mean, there's a lot of things that probably, puts us where we are. And then, of course, the more you dig into it, the more you realize about, why the rate structure is like it is and why some of these companies choose not to get into this form of insurance. But
Thank you.
Mr. Cagnolati?
Hey, Harry, thanks again. I just, now looking at all the charts and the graphs and what have you, page 5 points out that the average annual rate increase from 1995 to 2018 was 7.15.
Yeah.
And this year, 4.6, that's
Yeah.
2.5% less.
Yeah, that's.
I'd say job well done.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just thought that was interesting information, just to see exactly what the trend is and where we are, It's just amazing when you look at, when was it, in 95, an employee was $133 and it's 4 or 5 times now that much now, But again, talking about insurance lines, insurance a lot more comprehensive, a lot broader, less exclusions and everything now than we ever had, so all that costs. And look, gentlemen, anytime that y'all want to ask any other question that you feel like you want, just call or come by. I'll come by y'all, whatever. Be happy to answer any question, anytime,
Thank you,
But I
Harry.
guess probably we asking permission to go ahead and continue the HSA, to maybe if y'all choose to go ahead and renew with Humana. Okay, and then let us search, and see if we can go ahead and match what we have in life insurance, then go ahead and renew that. If not, well, then, I can touch bases and let y'all know exactly what it'll be. I can't imagine not being able to reach those same figures that we have now.
Madam Chair, do we need to add the health savings account to the motion, or?
I believe we
Right,
do,
I-
yes, please.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
I add that to
okay.
the original motion.
To the motion.
Sometimes y'all might not get to talk to the committee group, but I'd like to express, they really, gracious about the plan that y'all have for them. They know that it's a rich plan, and they appreciate y'all putting out that kind of money for them. We hear that all the time in that committee.
Excellent.
Okay.
So I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert with the addition of the $125
HSA.
HSA. And a second. Randy, are you comfortable with that as well?
Yes,
Second
I
by
am.
Councilman Kluwat. If there are no further questions, are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you for being with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right, item number 8, amendment number 1, BFI Waste Services LLC doing business as Republic Services of Baton Rouge to increase the total amount of the contract from $95,000 to a not-to-exceed amount of $130,000 for additional services at Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Kyle Rogers? Kyle, is there anybody here from Republic?
Is there anybody here from Republic? No,
Yes.
ma'am.
They wouldn't dare, would they?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you guys pretty much have them shaken at this point.
Do they pick up on time at your place?
You know what? They come out, they pick up the dumpsters, they get out of there, and they keep their head low when they're rolling out of town.
I think that's wise. I was waiting. I've been sitting here going, oh, I hope they had the audacity to have somebody come in this building.
I had a whole letter to read them that we all
Yeah.
got.
Yeah, exactly.
Motion.
We were going to read Barb's letter.
Yes.
Thank you.
I got a
I have a
motion.
motion by Councilman Kluwat.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Mr. Dawson?
I have to recuse myself.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Happy birthday, Shelley.
And happy birthday, Shelley. All right, item number 9, a renewal of a contract with Ralph's Market for emergency feeding for parish workers during a declared emergency. This is the third year of the RFP. Mr. Rick Weber.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, this is an ongoing contract to feed emergency workers during a declared state of emergency.
Motion.
A motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Are there any questions of Mr. Rick? Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Rick. Item number 10, to amend the Myers Engineers LTD contract to increase the total amount of the contract from $20,918 to a not-to-exceed amount of $420,918 for additional services required at the Santa Maria Park Recreation Center for design of a replacement recreation building that was damaged as a result of the 2016 flood.
Motion.
Rick?
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Kluwat, second by Councilman Johnson.
Go ahead, Rick.
Rick, please.
We have a obligated FEMA project worksheet that allows us to actually declared substantially damaged for Santa Maria Park, and it authorizes us to move into demolition, design, and reconstruction of that facility.
Good job.
Wonderful. That probably answers a lot of questions.
Okay.
Real quick.
Mr. Kluwat.
First of all, Rick, I want to thank you guys, your staff, everybody. Based on our meetings and also the Recreation Department and the administration, that was a milestone that it wasn't going our way. So as the Santa Maria Fire Department didn't go our way, the Santa Maria Park did. And that's going to leave us an opening and to get that facility back up and running. And I'm just let everybody know that we basically going into a design. We're kind of, right now, based on budget and what's being funded, that we're looking at the same square footage as we go into design, and we'll do some valued engineering to try to keep that within the budget that's allowed, which is, right now, I'm gonna just round it out at about 4.5 million. And so we hope to get something going and something that we can show the people of Santa Monica and the people that, that use that recreation, all the parish people that use that recreation department and that center, and get us another indoor facility back up and running, and get something in a couple months in front of people so they can see what the progress we got. Thank you once again, and thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing us to get on this agenda, and thank all my fellow council members.
You are quite welcome. So now I got to go back. Did we vote?
Nope.
Yeah, we made a motion.
We made a motion and a second. Any other questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We have voted.
Thank all
I'm
of you.
sorry.
Thank
I
you
got,
very much.
I got lost in that. At this time, the monthly contract report, Ms. Sandra Pereira.
Good evening. Before you, you have the list of all contracts entered into in the month of September.
After review of the monthly contract report, are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Finance reports, this is item number 12, sales and use tax report. Ms. Gwynn.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You have before you the sales and use tax report based on collections during the month of August, and that would be based on July sales. You can see, as you can tell, there was a significant increase in the August collections, and that was due to an audit that yielded $3.7 million in total, and that's what's affecting the monthly comparisons. At drainage, like 43.48% increase, August 55% increase, and sales tax district number 2, like a 57% increase. Without the audit, motor vehicles and plants were up for the August collections. And the main reason in this year actually has been for a decline in plant activity and the 27 flood recovery from the 2016 flood. Without the audit, your year-to-date would be minus 3.82 in drainage. The monthly comparison would be the percent of difference between the 17 month and the 18 would be 9%. And in the sales tax district number 1, without the audit, the amount of difference between the 2 years is 2,200 and 2,700, and that represents a 10.8% increase. And sales tax district number 2, without the audit, the difference in the 2 years would be 102,141, and that represents 11.23% increase for the month. And for the year, it would be a minus 5.49. The budget comparisons at 66.66% of the year, or 71.5 for drainage, and 71.7 for the sales tax district number 1, and almost 70% for sales tax district number 2. And you have your regular charts that show that the plants are above what they should be. I mean, not what they should be, but because of the audit, which brings a pie chart for the petrochemical industry and their major suppliers to 49%. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
I got a quick question.
Mr. Kluwat?
Yeah, Gwen, and you're talking about the audit and without the audit, we're looking at some negative numbers, 17 versus 18 year-to-date. But the audit is, that squares
It's
it
the reason
up.
for the huge increase for the month-to-month
Month to month,
comparisons.
yeah. Month, year-to-date, month to month, yes. But the audit is real, that it does.
Yes, it was a company that was paying in protest while it went through a process of debating whether some function of their operations was taxable or not, and they lost the case. So it was paid in protest, so they released it to us after the issue was resolved.
Yeah, because I remember about 8 years ago, we had a company across the river that was kind of in protest and working with the assessor's office based on storage versus production.
Right.
And so sometimes that takes a while to straighten out.
Yes. Mhm.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Kluwat. Great question. All right, any other questions? Mr. Dawson?
Gwen, so I'm glad they did the audit.
We all.
You know, could we expect that this is through August, so could we expect those next months through the rest of the year to reflect? Or some of these numbers were makeups for the entire year, is that correct? So the amount that we collected in August reflected some results of the audit that were collecting taxes for the earlier part of the year, is that right, or was it just?
Well, I'm not quite sure I understand, but the audit that came in was just one audit by itself. I mean, we had other audits during the year, and that's reflected in the past year-to-dates.
Well, I'm
We don't
looking at-
exclude audits, but it was just the huge spike was just because it was an outstanding, amount.
Just for that 1 month, though? It
Yes.
won't be anything, what I'm trying to understand, won't be anything that we could expect September, October, November, December, is that?
Well, I mean, we have audits occasionally, but nothing to this magnitude, no. I mean,
Okay.
like $1 million would be a big audit
Yeah.
for us,
Okay,
normally.
so I'm seeing for August, it was about $500,000 over last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, which one are you looking at?
I'm looking at just the top one, the East Ascension
Oh,
Range.
East Ascension, yes, 521,000.
And $1 million in the 1 cent sales
Right.
tax.
Right.
But what I'm trying to look at, just look at the numbers and see, what does that look like between now and the end of the year? So it looks, if you just said that we collected this in August and then the next 4 months would be average, it would still put us pretty much where we would be on budget. But
Right.
if
Yes, we expect that now.
expect collections
I
to
do know what
increase
the-
over the next 4 months
Right.
because of anything to do with this audit or anything else, then maybe we
Exactly.
could expect that we'll be able to have revenue a little above the budget.
Yes, I received a month for September this week from the Sales Tax Authority, and there's an increase
Yeah,
from
okay,
compared to last year.
okay,
So
thank you,
that's good news.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Gwynn, very much. Now, item number 13, the revenue and expenditure report.
Good evening. Before you are the financial reports for the month of August 2018. Page 1, revenues are at 51.47%. Page 2, expenditures are at 54.27%, at 66.67% of the year. Page 3 are charts that compare the year-to-date revenue and expenditure for both operating and capital to the budget. Page 4 and 5 gives a brief explanation of the funds that are highlighted on page 1 and 2 that are under the budget, but revenues are over the budget for expenditures by 5% or more. And the last page reflects all checks issued in August that were over 100,000, and the total of those checks are $3,762,039.20. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for me? Don't see any, Miss Amanda. Thank you so much. Item number 14, bid items. To accept the lowest responsive bid. Ms. Jones.
Good evening. On September 11, 2018, the Purchasing Department received 5 proposals for preventative maintenance services for stationary and mobile generators. After review, the Non-Engineering Selection Committee recommend accepting the proposals submitted by Arco Company Services and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this service.
Have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Dempsey Lambert, a second by Councilman Aaron Lawler. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item number 15,
Motion.
motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Councilman Cagnolati.
Dempsey didn't.
We are, and a second by Councilman Lambert. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.